We're back. Welcome to another pre-show. Gather round.
Welcome home. Welcome home. Dare I say it, despite the recent death of Dame Edna Everage, welcome back, possums. That's what Dame Edna called the audience, called them all possums. So I figured I could do that now that Dame Edna's gone.
Dave, wait, say that. I lost you on that one.
All right, Barry Humphries, the Australian comedian, did a number of very interesting characters. Sandy Stone was one of my favorites, was sort of a retiree, very kind of not really knowing what was going on. My favorite was Celeste Patterson, who was a kind of an Australian Labor politician who was always like, really vulgar, you know. But Dame Edna Everage is who he was famous for.
Hmm.
And Dame Edna would always refer to her audience as possums. Hello, possums, like that.
Wow. Okay.
And now with Barry Humphrey, at least 3 people have died. Dame Edna, Celeste, and Sandy Stone, the retiree.
Wow. All right.
The funny thing was that of all of his characters, it was Sandy Stone, he said, was really closest to the real him.
Fascinating.
Well, I thought I'd share that with our audience, especially because they have not had this kind of trivia in a month.
That's true.
So, as I say, I mean, we were the one place where this kind of inane trivia could be gathered together with all sorts of useful, important stuff. And our patrons have been deprived of this while you and I have been on vacation.
That's right. I know. They're starting to get antsy, which is very flattering. Looks like
Yeah.
the books. Everyone was really worried about the books behind you on the table. I mean, they missed that. That's sort of home. Like they need it. Well, you've got some stuff, but it's still pretty neat. I don't know.
Well, you got to remember, I've been away. I made some new acquisitions to the old library. Um,
Ooh,
Robin Hood,
wow.
Outlaw Greenwood Myth, purchased at the fabulous Sherwood Forest Visitors Center.
Mm.
Robin Hood, David Baldwin, The English Outlaw Unmasked, also from the Visitors Center, and The Turning of the Year, Lore and Legends of the Irish Seasons, purchased at the fabulous Tara Visitors Center, and 70 Years Young, Memories of Elizabeth, Countess of Fingal, purchased at the same wonderful Visitors Center.
Wow. Solange Hertz had an interesting opinion on Robin Hood. She apparently always rooted for Sheriff of Nottingham. She didn't like she had a problem with the story of Robin Hood because she felt it was an usurpation of authority.
Well, see, I've always seen it just the other way around. I've seen Robin Hood as a defender of the rightful king's rights, Richard the Lionheart, against his scheming would-be usurper brother, Prince John, in whose employ was the Sheriff of Nottingham.
That's interesting. I like that version more. Yeah.
I do too, oddly enough. That's why I'm in favor of it. But it's, the idea of the defender of the rightful king standing up and the bad guys being the agents of the usurper. It's an old motif in history and also in literature. I mean, think of Robert Browning's Cavalier songs. He had one of them that started, Kentish Sir Byng stood for his king, bidding the crop-headed parliament swing, and raising a troop, unable to stoop, and see the rogues flourish, and honest folk droop. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
It was, it was a long, long way to Tipperary, actually. And my heart's still there.
Yeah. I feel that. All right.
I said goodbye Piccadilly, farewell Leicester Square. I did. That's why I'm here now.
Okay.
It's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart's right here, right there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you're coming from a good place, Charles. I'm really glad. Um,
I did come from a good place, actually. And considering that we've got the coronation staring us in the face, uh, hitting the British Isles was great.
that's right. Yeah.
A number of people asked me if I was going to the coronation, and I said, "Well, the problem is I'm not invited to the Abbey, and I really don't care for crowd scenes. I could stand on the street and wave a flag anywhere. I may do that here in Trumau, the day of the coronation, stand on the street and wave a Union Jack. It'll look weird because I'll be by myself in the middle of a small Austrian village."
Are you gonna have a monarchist party or something though? Like people dress up formally,
Well, we're planning on doing something. Oh, and there's a problem. We're planning on doing something Saturday night, a week from tonight. But if we do that, I'll either have to break away early to do the show, or we'll have to do it on Sunday, one or the other.
I was thinking about that. I'm glad you brought that up. When is the coronation? What time for?
Well, see, I'm not going to be able. It'll be in the morning, but I can't see in the morning because here at the institute we have a mandatory conference on education that all of us have to attend. So doubtless by the time Saturday night rolls around, the coronation will have been recorded.
Who scheduled that thing? That's a.
Well, I mean, officially, Austria takes no notice of coronations. Kind of like the United States.
Oh, we would never do that.
No, it's not the most fortunate scheduling, but it is what it is. And the conference looks like it'll be quite interesting, actually. But it's just unfortunate that it's going to be then. But just out of curiosity, let's see what time the coronation is going to be. Because we can figure out, all right, Saturday, May 6th. We know that. Coronation weekend plans announced. Yes, allow all. All right. May 6th, what time will it begin at Westminster Abbey? All right, Saturday. It'll take place on the morning. Well, we know that. That doesn't tell us anything. We know it's the morning. The coronation big day lunch is taking place, so that's nice. But what time? Here we go. I agree. All right. The ceremony is due to start at 11 o'clock, so that's noon Austrian time. And that's what's 8 hours before 11?
3 o'clock.
3 a.m.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then it'll begin at 3 a.m. in Los Angeles.
Well, I guess we're both watching recordings.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Interestingly, the carriage that they'll be taking, the Diamond Jubilee State Coach, was made in Australia, built in 2012. They'll be presented with the regalia, the anointing with the chrism, the coronation chair will be set up in front of the high altar. Take the oath, the anointing. It'll be interesting to see. The anointing will not be shown. That was a question. But will the communion be shown? Don't know. Do not know. So it's going to be quite something, I must say. There are the several stages. The service is supposed to last 2 hours. Stage 1, the recognition. Stage 2, the oath. Stage 3, the anointing. Stage 4, the investiture with the crown and the regalia. Stage 5, the enthronement, and the queen consort will be crowned, and then the departure. And then they'll take the golden state coach, which has been used at every coronation since 1831. But what's interesting is that they'll arrive in the coach made in Australia. So that's sort of a nod to the Commonwealth. And also, interestingly enough, for the first time since, well, at least 1685, and maybe not then, there will be a cardinal present. So that's sort of interesting.
Okay.
Oh, and also there'll be foreign royalty, which has never happened before.
That's interesting. Okay. What countries?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. All the foreign royals attending the king's coronation. Here's the ones who have confirmed so far. We've got Crown Prince Fumihito and his wife, Crown Princess Kiko of Japan. The Danish royal family, Crown Prince Frederick and Crown Princess Mary of Denmark. The King of Sweden with his daughter, the Prince of Monaco with his wife, which is interesting. She's South African. So the King and Queen of Spain, the King and Queen of Belgium, the Crown Prince and Princess of Norway, the Grand Duke and Duchess of Luxembourg, the widowed Queen of Greece, the Queen Mother of Greece, and her son and daughter-in-law, the Crown Prince and Crown Princess, the rightful King and Queen of Greece.
Okay.
And they've also invited, though I don't know if they're going, the King of Jordan, the Sultan of Brunei, and the Sultan of Oman. Joe Biden will not be attending, but his wife will be going to represent the United States. Apparently, Joe, he has problems remembering, stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's a good list. Okay, well, it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's well, the end of one era and the beginning of another.
Oh. All right, questions time.
All right, what do we got?
Question number 1 is from Mary Ann, who says, Dear Charles and Vincent, I'm a big fan of The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. In my Protestant days, I always assumed the encounter with the piper in chapter 7 was meant to be an allegory of God, much like Aslan in the Chronicles of Narnia. Having reread it as a Catholic and a mother, I'm curious what Charles's opinion is of the animal's worship of what is clearly Pan, hooves and all, and the fact that Graham chose to capitalize the H when referring to him. It is beautifully written, but would this be confusing to a small child?
Well, I always thought myself that it was sort of allegorical, and that in a sense, the animals saw God as one of themselves, basically. But it's frankly, I mean, they certainly didn't. I never thought twice about it when I was a kid. I think you should just be ready to answer your kids' questions is all.
Okay.
I mean, the more so because you've read it. And as you know, I place very, very great. A lot depends on the kid himself. I mean, you know the kid, I don't. And a lot depends on the child and on the parent knowing both his child and the book itself, which, you know the one, presumably you'll know the other. So you'll have to ask yourself that question when your children start reading the thing, if you think they should.
Right. She also asks, how should an adult convert? Excuse me. How should an adult convert choose a baptismal name, and how is that different from or related to choosing a patron saint?
Actually, it's very close. It's very similar. Choosing a baptismal name is in effect choosing a patron saint, especially if you're unfortunate enough to have a name like Logan or Ashley. It becomes all the more important. So when you choose a baptismal name, it should be a saint's name because you are basically acquiring a patron. Same with your confirmation name; you're acquiring another patron.
Well, what does that mean to acquire a patron?
Well, it means a saint you've got a particular relationship with, to whom you should pray to, and learn about and cultivate a connection to.
Because I feel like for me, I'm just curious how it works out. Like I chose John the Evangelist because he was like the baby of the apostles, and I'm like the baby in my family, and I've always appreciated John's writing, his approach, a lot of other things. But just as my perhaps as I develop more, I really, really got attached to Saint Francis, and perhaps he, in my opinion, is my patron now, or I regard him in that special manner. Does that
Well, that's
happen? I mean,
fine.
is that's
Yeah,
fine?
of
Yeah.
course. You can't have too many friends in heaven.
Okay.
You really, I mean, there are a number of saints I feel close to that I'm not named after. The Archangel St. Michael, St. Nicholas, St. George.
Yeah.
These, and of course, Our Lady. I'm certainly not named after her.
Right. Sure. Well, that makes
So,
sense.
I mean, and remember, it's not a two-way street. A lot of the spiritual writers say that if you feel drawn to a particular saint, very often it's them calling you as much as you calling to them.
Yeah, so you said it's not a two-way street. You meant it
It,
is a
no,
two.
it
Yeah.
is a two-way
Yeah.
street.
Yeah.
So you know if you suddenly find you're excited about anybody from Blessed Emperor Charles to uh, St. Paul the First Hermit,
Yeah.
and you feel like you really get them,
Yeah.
well, it's a safe bet that the other is true too. They're interested in you.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting too. As I learned about Saint Francis, he had such a strange similarity to me because I think Saint Francis' name wasn't Saint Francis; it was actually
No,
John. I think.
yeah, he was named Francis, meaning the French one,
Yeah.
because he spoke French, like most really neat people do.
Right. Well, I thought he liked the Franks in general. Um,
The French, the
yeah, the French.
the Franks were the French, then.
Yeah. So,
He did.
but that connects to me in my name with Frankini, where it's like little Frank.
Little
Um,
Frenchman.
so I thought that was an interesting connection there.
Yeah, and the fact that you like to wear gray and brown.
Okay. Yes.
Well, I mean, gray was the color of the habits of the first Franciscans, and brown of the current ones. That's why in English, for many, many years, the Franciscans were called the Grey Friars.
That's a big change to change a color like that. How do you do that? It has to be the
I
head of
don't
the order.
know.
That's
I don't know how it happened. And to be honest with you, I mean, Father Serra wore gray. So it happened sometime in the 19th century, but I really don't know the how or the why.
interesting.
It is.
All right. Because
They call
whenever I think of the Franciscans, I always think brown. So now I have to insert gray in there, but that feels weird to do that.
You don't think of them that way, but when you see the word Greyfriars, that means Franciscans. Similarly, Blackfriars means Dominicans. Now you think, wait a minute, they wear white robes, they wear a white habit. Well, they do, but in their choir dress, they put a black scapular over their white, and so they call them Blackfriars. And the Carmelites, who definitely wear a brown habit, they have a white scapular they wear in choir, and so they're called the White Friars.
It seems like these names are designed to be confusing. This isn't working out.
Well, they were less confusing when they wore those particular garments more. But I mean, just have curiosity. I don't think it's true, but were there green friars? I don't think so. Let's see. I don't really think there were green friars.
ICKSP is light blue. I don't know.
But they're not friars.
Oh, okay.
Green friars. No. Didn't think so. Are there red friars?
That would be weird.
See, these were all, yeah, the Trinitarians were called the Red Friars.
What did the Benedictines do?
Well, they weren't friars at all. They were the monks.
Okay.
They were the monks. But the Red Friars were the Trinitarians. No green friars, but black friars, white friars, gray friars, and there were the crutched friars. I remember them. And the crutched friars, also Kraus or Crouch, they were an order. They were only in England. So, like the Gilbertines, when all religious orders were suppressed in England, that was the end of the crutched friars as well as the Gilbertines.
Okay. Wow, that's fascinating. All right. Question from Joel, who's Joel says, "Greetings to my two favorite Italian Americans, Vincenzo Francini and Carlo Colombo."
Che se dici? Che se dici, amico mio? Come stai? Ecco. Allora. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Would you rather I spoke Italian or Italian American?
Italian American.
So, what does he want to say?
Okay, never mind. All right, Joel.
You know, I all right, I can try another dialect. So what? Come on, what does this goofball want, huh? What does he want out of us?
Okay, that's not too bad. I kind of like that one. Okay.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Okay. What does the goofball want? Tell me.
Okay, this Goomba, he says, I am making a 2-week excursion to Switzerland and France in late June. I'll be flying into Geneva, but I am looking to stay in the Rhone Alps region of France for the first week and returning to the country of fondue, banking, and chocolate for a week's stay in the Valais. I am wondering if the well-traveled Charles has any tips for a newbie, especially since the regions I will be in are solidly francophone. Also, if Charles knows of any must-see destinations in these regions and their adjacent surroundings, I would be glad if he shared them.
Yeah, you know what? Sure.
Okay.
I can help this guy. You know, it's all right. I'll take care of him. All right. This is what I want you to do. Okay, in Geneva, there's the cathedral that John Calvin himself, the big Protestante, he used to preach from. It was a Catholic cathedral. Now it's Calvinist. Huh? You can see the Palais des Nations, which is the headquarters of the UN in Geneva. There was the headquarters of the League of Nations. It's prettier than the one in New York. That's very pretty. Go see it. Go see the League of Nations. You want, you can see the headquarters of the Boy Scouts. You can see the headquarters of the Red Cross. In Geneva, you got all these international organizations. You can go see them. But that's not all. You go from there, you go into Savoy. Okay, now that's one part of France was part of Sardinia. It was part of the Kingdom of Sardinia before 1860. You with me?
Yeah.
You with me so far? Okay. Well, if you go to the Abbé d'Hautecombe, which is the Abbazia d'Hautecombe, you're going to find the graveyard, the tombs of the most recent Savoys. I'm talking Victor Emmanuel III. I'm talking his wife, who's up for canonization, Queen Elena. I'm talking Umberto II and his wife, Maria Jose. You can see them all at that abbey, Hautecombe. But in Lyon, you can see Notre Dame de Fourvière, which is a wonderful place, one of the primatial see of the Gauls. See, France has two primates, huh? It's like England. England has Canterbury and York. France has Reims and Lyon. But that's not all. There's a lot more to see, huh? Because you can go down to Grenoble, and you can see the Palace of the Dauphin. You got a lot of churches down in that part of the world, lots of them. Then you're in the Valais, you can go see Sion and the Cathedral of Sion. A lot of other stuff you can see there, but that's good for a start.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So what do you say to that, Capo?
I feel like your impression was awesome, except for your pronunciation, your Italian American pronunciation of French cities. You could.
Don Vincenzo. Not Vincenzo. I'm coming to you now. I'm coming to you as a supplicant. You know what I'm saying?
You couldn't lower yourself to a bad pronunciation of French. You couldn't do it. That was what was required for an authentic impression, and you could not go there.
What makes you think that Italians are so stupid they can't pronounce French words properly, huh? Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
Touche. You got me.
Italian, me. See, touche. What are you supposed to say? Touchy.
Oh,
you said touche. You said it properly. Now, don't you feel silly? Basically, you were bagging on your own people. You wanted me to live down to some stereotype, like we're all morons. Like we're incapable of pronouncing a simple French place name like a normal person. That's what you're saying. You're saying we just don't have brains. And I think that's a terrible thing to do to your own people, don't you?
All right, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. I apologize to the Italians everywhere. We are not a lowly stereotype.
That's right. But on behalf of the Sons of Italy and the United States of America, the Italian Catholic Federation, the National Committee of Christopher Columbus, and every other Anglo-American foundation, committee, and association, I forgive you.
Thank you, Charles.
Don't let it happen again, though. Because we're going to be watching.
All right.
All right. We square? Are we square with this? Are we good with this?
We are square. All right.
Can I let go of this phony accent now?
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
All right. John says, who are some of Charles's favorite martyrs?
Woof. There are a lot. Well, where do I begin? At the beginning, I guess. St. Stephen, of course, St. Irenaeus, St. James the Great, St. Peter, St. Paul, St. Boniface, St. Eric of Sweden, St. Canute of Denmark, oh man, St. George, St. Sebastian, St. Demetrius, St. Mark, Oh, it never ends, does it?
Hmm.
Well, the Martyrs of Gorcum, St. John Fisher, St. Thomas More, the Martyrs of England, Scotland, and Ireland, uh, the
I,
Martyrs of Japan, the Martyrs of Korea.
I want a top 5. They're all great, but let's get a top 5.
Blah. All right, St. George, St. Thomas More, St. Miguel Pro, St. It's 3, St. Jean Brebeuf, and there's this one for the Spanish Civil War, but I can't think of his name.
Okay.
So you know what? We'll say Blessed Carl is a white martyr.
Wow. Okay. I don't know. Did you put Joan of Arc in that list?
Oh, heavens. There you go.
Yeah, okay.
St. Joan of Arc. I don't know what I was thinking. There you go.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. John also says, I recently watched episode 225 of your show. In that episode, someone asked someone asked, are the British the bad guys? Charles stated, all the times the British were good. I was wondering if Charles could do one for Russia. So I guess if someone ever perceives Russia as always the bad guys, what are instances which Russia are the good guys?
Sure. They were the good guys in fighting the Tartars, you know, and sometimes losing to them. They were the good guys in fighting the Turks, especially when they joined the Austrians and the Poles and so on in the War of the Grand Alliance, or not the War of the Grand Alliance, the War of the Holy Alliance, rather, against the Turks, the War of Catherine the Great against the Turks. They were the good guys spreading into Turkestan. They were the good guys in trying to safeguard the Christians of the Holy Land of the Ottoman Empire from persecution. They were the good guys to some degree in Alaska and California.
How is that?
They were the good guys to some degree in Alaska and California.
No, I mean, like, how? Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, I mean, they brought orthodoxy to the Indians and Aleuts and Eskimos of Alaska, and they eventually came all the way down to California. But rather than getting into a tussle with the Spanish, they were quite friendly with them. So much so that St. Innocent of Alaska, who's their eventually a bishop, he's a saint to them, traveled through the California missions, painting altarpieces and so on. And at Fort Ross, it was near to the northernmost mission at San Francisco Solano and Sonoma. And as happened on a few rare occasions, when one of these two places did not have a priest of their own, the priest from the other ministered to them. So the relationship between the Russians and the Spanish in the last few decades of Spanish California was quite friendly.
We don't have a lot of, I feel like, relatively speaking, we don't have a lot of Russians here. My sister, who's in North Carolina, said they're just crawling with them over there. Is that fair to say? And if so, why?
Well, we have a number in LA, actually. I went to school with some, and there were a lot from what we call the first and second immigrations. Oh, as far as being the good guys, sorry, I completely forgot. Tsar Paul I and Tsar Alexander I in their fight against the French Revolution and Napoleon. And Alexander I in particular in founding the Holy Alliance. So there's, a lot of There's a lot more of the Russians being good guys than you would think, although there's certainly more than enough there being the bad guys. As far as numbers of Russians, I don't know what the situation is like in North Carolina, but there are several Russian Orthodox churches in the LA area. In fact, 3 come to mind immediately. Protection of the Holy Virgin and Holy Transfiguration, which are ROCOR parishes, and the Cathedral of the Holy Virgin Mary, which is an OCA parish. So they have Russians. I know some.
Okay.
There are a lot in San Francisco.
Okay, very good. All right. Last question for the pre-show. John says, "What is liberation theology, and how did it arise, and what are Charles's thoughts on it?"
Well, liberation theology, it actually, I think, owes its origin to a phrase in Gaudium et Spes of Vatican II, which points out that many people live in conditions which sort of orient them toward difficult or horrible lives, and that this in turn can provoke a terrible reaction. And it's from that section of the notion of structures of sin comes. And that's the idea that unequal or difficult social structures are themselves sinful. And what liberation theology does is it takes this notion and it reinterprets Christianity so that salvation and liberation from personal sin becomes knocking down structures of sin and establishing quote unquote just social order. I say quote unquote because when it's been tried is in Nicaragua, it can be quite lethal, or Cuba for that matter.
So, liberation of theology is about breaking down the structures of power.
Yeah. The other part they don't say is erecting new ones that are far more oppressive. That's the part that gets left out.
Does anybody? I mean, who runs with this? I mean, I feel like it's so there's so many holes in it. It's just like Swiss cheese. I mean, can anyone with a straight face really espouse this?
Not until Pope Francis came in. He rehabilitated a number of interesting characters that either both John Paul and Benedict had shut up or smacked around.
That's too bad.
Yeah, you could put it in the box with the other things in this pontificate.
Put it in the box. Okay, we'll put it in the box and we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for the pre-show, everyone.
But don't think you can leave that easily. No. We've got a whole show coming up.
You can check out whenever, anytime you like, but you can never leave.
That's for sure. Even if we're gone for a month, you can't escape off the menu. And why would you want to? I mean, imagine being trapped at the Waldorf Astoria, and you've got the best food, the best booze, incredible band, and then you find you can't leave. So what? Big deal.
Perfect metaphor. That's on point right there.
It really is. Well, imagine, if you will, that you go to the Waldorf one night, right? And you've checked in. So you've got a good suite. Everything is functioning well. You have dinner with your wife in the dining room of the hotel. The dinner is perfect. You step into the ballroom. There's dancing going on. There are drinks. It's just great. And then it's announced that there's good news and bad news. The bad news is that the zombie apocalypse has broken out, and no one is going to be allowed to leave the hotel or enter. That's the bad news. The good news is that due to their incredible capacity in their freezers and so forth, there's enough food and booze to keep everybody going for 75 years.
I'm really interested in seeing this is a TV show or something where
Oh, you like that?
This isolated culture that's trapped in the Waldorf Astoria during the time of a zombie apocalypse.
During the time of the zombie apocalypse. And you hear all the chaos and the screaming outside, and the band plays all the louder.
Somebody has to do that. Please, any big money people, find somebody, make this happen. I will. Oh, that's so good. See, that wasn't hard. It's not hard to have good ideas for good shows. I don't know why it's so hard nowadays. There's so much crap everywhere, and that was perfect, Charles.
That's true, but it would be interesting. Well, we just checked into the Waldorf because my wife's family are out in Jersey, and we'd like to go see them. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, that won't be possible. No one may leave the hotel, or if they do, they may not return.
Oh, man. Wow. All right. Stay tuned for the full episode. A lot coming at you. Charles has a lot to say about his adventures. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be an extravaganza. Stay tuned.
An incredible extravaganza of insular travel.
Yeah. There you go. Something like that.
We'll see you.